Presentation this afternoon will be very important for many, no, if not all of you, will be joining the profession, because this will provide you with a glimpse, no, of the theoretical foundation of why, no, when, no, and where the profession of environmental planning first emerged as a formal profession. So we have explored, no, in our submission the origins, no, of our planners. So these are two figures that will be discussing this afternoon. The historical debate that created, no, the what we call the DNA of our modern profession. So our goal here is to equip you with the essential historical context and ethical framework, setting the stage for everything that follows in this course. So let us discuss the core question. Why did environmental planning emerge as a distinct discipline? So it was not an accidental development, but a deliberate response to escalating environmental and social crises. No? So we have we'll be discussing this afternoon specific historical forces, no, that made this planned intervention necessary. We will also examine the profound disruptions of the Industrial Revolution that reshaped the relationship between society and nature. Finally, no, this we will also tackling foundational philosophies that guide practicing planners like us, no, today. The answers lead us directly to the what we call, no, in this profession, the great dialectic debate between Gifford Pinchot's utilitarian conservation ethic and John Muir's preservationist ethic. So itong dalawang to, no, both Americans, no, that uh, started, no, this debate and eventually led to the creation of our profession. This debate is far from academic. No, it represents the core ongoing tension in our professional field, compelling us to constantly balance human needs for development and resources against the imperative to protect ecological integrity and recognize nature's intrinsic value in every project, policy, and plan we develop. Background, let's tackle this in detail for you to have some idea. So, in order for you to appreciate, no, the profession of environmental planning, we must understand the word it emerged. So as we have discussed in our summation, the pre-industrial era was predominantly agrarian, with human settlements intimately integrated into their local natural resource base. Now, life was governed by the seasons and the land's carrying capacity. The Industrial Revolution, however, was a societal cataclysm that fundamentally recognized this relationship. It was not merely a technological shift, but a transformation in how humans perceived and interacted with their environment, prioritizing machine power, production, and profit over ecological balance and sustainability. This new industrial paradigm, coupled with unregulated capitalist expansion, triggered massive, chaotic, and utterly unplanned urban growth. Cities swelled at an unprecedented rate, becoming epicenters of a new kind of environmental and social crisis that would eventually demand a deliberate, systematic, and planned response from society. Before the Industrial Revolution, we also tackled that in our summation, yung filth, yung squalor, no, sa England, that eventually created, no, the need for planning. So we go into the age of industrialization. So the primary engine of this dramatic societal transformation was the factory system. Concentrated in urban centers, factories acted as powerful magnets, pulling millions of people from subsistence farming in the countryside to wage labor in cities during a relentless wave of mass urbanization. So in this era, no, we saw, especially in England, no, London, Manchester, then eventually later in the America, in the US, no, New York and Chicago, expanded at a dizzying, reckless pace that completely outstripped any existing infrastructure, governance, or planning capacity. There were no zoning laws, no public health standards, and certainly no comprehensive master plans to guide this explosive growth. No? Bara-bara lang nangyari that time, no? Kahit nasaan. Conflicting na mga businesses side by side, no, allowed yan kasi wala namang mga master plans. So this rapid anarchic development generated severe negative externalities. A term, no, economists use to describe the unintended and costly consequences of industrial production that were dumped onto society and the environment, creating a paradoxical landscape of immense wealth creation existing alongside profound human suffering and ecological degradation. So anong consequences? Anong nangyari, no? As a result of this massive na economic growth, no, arising from industrialization. So as we see, no, sa history, they were nothing short of catastrophic. Especially the air, no, in industrial cities, it became thick with coal smoke and industrial particulates, leading to widespread respiratory diseases, with chronic bronchitis contributing to shocking high mortality rates. Yung mga ilog natin, no, mga rivers, which serve as the lifeblood for transportation, water, and waste disposal, were transformed into toxic open sewers, contaminated with untreated industrial chemicals and raw human waste. Sa atin, totoo pa rin to, no? Kahit nasa NCR, yung especially Pasig River, bagsakan, no, na lahat ng dumi, leading to devastating cholera and typhoid outbreaks that killed thousands indiscriminately. So yung working class, no, working class was cramped into overcrowded, vermin-infested, and sunless slums, utterly lacking access to clean water, functional sanitation, or recreational open space, creating a toxic environment that bred not only disease but also profound social unrest, crime, and moral panic among the wealthy and powerful classes. So very prominent yan, no? Especially sa England, then eventually to America, but more on England because center siya ng Industrial Revolution. It's also part of yung Europe. So anong reaction doon because of that? So yung initial planning response, no? Parang knee-jerk reaction ng government in the face of this escalating urban crisis. So the first glimmers of what could evolve into modern environmental planning began to appear. Naging reaction siya, though it was not yet known by that name. The initial and most critical response emerged from the field of public health engineering, driven by a grim necessity. So out of necessity lang talaga ang reaction that time, no? Powerful realization dawned upon leaders and reformers that collective problems like citywide cholera epidemics that respected no class boundaries required collective state-led solutions and interventions. So this led to the monumental and expensive undertaking of building the first large-scale sewer systems and protecting upstream water supplies for public consumption, representing one of the first major public works projects. This was a paradigm shift in governance, establishing the revolutionary principle that government had a fundamental responsibility to actively intervene in the built environment to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of its citizens, laying the groundwork for all future planning. So ganun yung background, no? Yung landscape, yung historical background, yung creation by necessity of our profession. So yung mga industrial cities that time, no, they were imploding under the weight of their own pollution and social problems. So a different but equally severe environmental crisis was unfolding across rural and wild landscapes, particularly in the rapidly expanding United States. Yung rise ng US, no, as a global power. So we have dominant frontier mentality prevailed in the national psyche, which viewed nature as an endless and inexhaustible storehouse of resources, there for the taking without consideration for future consequences. Nakita rin sa history, di ba, yung yung growth ng United States, including yung conquest nila ng Mexico, even their idea of being a colonial power. So they justified that, no? Sa history natin, they call that yung manifest destiny. Lumabas to sa board exam class, no? Yung basis ng cultural at saka political ideology of the United States of America, no? Yung justification nila of conquering other countries, they call that manifest destiny, no? Matindi din tong Amerika, no? Destiny do nilang sumakop. So that is the justification of this large-scale conquest, exploitation, and transformation of the land and the displacement of its original inhabitants. Now, remember the American Indians, no? Pumasok yung mga puti, no? From Europe. So the ecological results were catastrophic. Rampant, unchecked deforestation for timber and to clear land for agriculture. Parang Pilipinas din, no? In a sense. The systematic decimation of wildlife, like the passenger, yung mga yung American bison, no? Halos ubus-ubus yan through market hunting and the widespread topsoil erosion and degradation from short-sighted, intensive agricultural practices that strip the land of its fertility. May semblance din sa atin. Medyo nahuli lang tayo. But sa US, before its rise as superpower, yung economic activity, left and right. So, ano nangyari after that, no? Yung birth of a movement. So this rampant and increasing exploitation of America's natural resources could not continue unnoticed forever. And it ultimately sparked the formation of a formal and politically active conservation movement. As a result of yung left and right na exploitation, merong lumabas na movement, no, conservation movement by the late 19th century. So under Spanish pa tayo, no? We're a Spanish colony by that time, but America is slowly to be growing as a superpower. So sa US, no, because dun yung mabilis yung industrialization after England, there was a growing public sense, no, fueled by writers, artists, no, that the nation's seemingly boundless natural wealth was not in fact infinite. Na remember, makita natin sa movies yung mga cowboys pupuntang from the one side of the US going to the other side, no, pagkatapos kinonquer nila yung mga territories na used to be owned by the Mexicans, no, yung justification nila manifest destiny. No, matindi din yung justification. So yun nag-create ng movement na hindi pwedeng ganito, no? So yung movement sa US that basically divided, no, into two philosophically opposing camps from its very inception. Pagsimula pa lang, no? So yung isa, yung conservation, no? Conservation, and for what purpose? Dahil ang tingin nila, no, nature is primarily a collection of commodities to be scientifically managed for long-term human use and economic development. Ito yung isang thread din ng mga environmental planners na ang purpose talaga ng yung nature is to serve the interest of man, no? Or yung isa naman, yung isang thread is they call yung preservation. No, kailangan ba natin gawin 'yan? No, do we need to do it for the sake of exploitation? No, do we need to preserve yung environment? So that started yung yung philosophical clash sa America. No, between yung tinatawag natin sa profession natin na the great dialectic. Background natin sa profession, but this is also frequently asked na question sa board exam. Tinatawag natin na great dialectic, no? But sa atin we discussed this also aside from yung getting knowledge, but important for us to know yung two formidable figures dito that define the debate between G. Ford Pinchot versus John Muir. Yung conflict nila. This conflict started, no, and shaped American environmental policy. Maraming tingin kinopya sa kanila din. Alam mo naman Pilipino, no, being a US colony, we also copied, no, even yung their form of government, no, yung mga their concept of yung democracy, no, marami tayong masyado tayong believe sa America, no. So even yung environmental planning ng mga doctrines natin really are copied from the United States. So there's a conflict, no, between these two individuals. Now these two persons who are not philosophers, no, reclusive philosophers, they were really powerful, no, influential and politically connected advocates whose personal conflict and competing ideologies directly shape national policy, legislation, and the very physical landscape of America for generations. Itong si G. Ford Pinchot, he championed what he systematically defined as the utilitarian conservation ethic. No, remember this? Utilitarian conservation ethic. Grounded in progressive era principles. While ito naman si John Muir embodied a deeply held, almost spiritual preservationist ethic drawn from his extensive time in the wilderness. So ito mahilig sa kagubatan, no? Si John Muir. Itong isa naman, ang term natin dito, the direct term natin is pro-development siya. Pero ang term nila, the more correct term daw is utilitarian conservation ethic. So for development, yung isa naman is for preservation. So it created a fundamental clash of worldviews, a heated debate over the soul of the American relationship with its vast natural environment, pitting the head against the heart. No, itong si si G. Ford Pinchot, more of scientific daw siya, no? Ginagamit yung utak, no? Because ang center sa philosophy niya, dapat yung nature mag-serve sa interest ng human being, no? Well, itong isa naman is more of yung spiritual, no, reverence, no? Dapat i-respect natin yung nature. Dahil yung nature, according to John Muir, is sagrado to, no, that we must protect. So this tension hanggang ngayon become even more pronounced, no, as we practice your profession, yung battle between yung development or what they call the utilitarian conservation ethic versus, no, yung preservation. So makikita natin diyan ngayon sa yung as we discuss in this course, yung some of the concepts or yung ideas manifesting even in our laws. Yung laws natin sometimes very preservationist. Then meron din yung some of our laws pro-utilitarian conservation. So let's dissect itong si Mr. G. Ford Pinchot. Now remember his name? Favorite question sa board exam also natin. He is the proponent of what many planners, no, are considering the concept of yung utilitarian conservationist. No? First and foremost, kasi bakit? Itong si G. Ford Pinchot pala, no, yung trabaho niya, parang pareho din sa inyo dito. No, some of you here, I think, mga foresters. How many of you here are foresters? Si Pinchot was a forester, manager siya, no, ng isang forest. Tapos he's a firm believer, no, in the progressive era ideals of efficiency, scientific management, and rational government intervention in the economy. So he was appointed by President Theodore Roosevelt, no, as the first chief of the U.S. Forest Service. Imagine to. May imagine mo lang yung pagdating ng mga puti sa Amerika, ang daming mga American, yung mga native na mga Indians, no, yung they claim yung mga forests, no, as their as part of their territory by virtue of the concept of manifest destiny. So expansion, yung America talaga was built on yung expansionist na idea. So hanggang ngayon pa naman, no? Hanggang ngayon ganun pa rin yung feeling ng Amerika, no, na parang being the world superpower, they have the authority, no, to intervene kahit na saang bansa, no? Parang they're the world's foremost policeman. So itong si G. Ford Pinchot, dahil siya yung chief of the US Forest Service, yan yung pagtingin niya, no, na dapat proteksyonan natin yung mga forest, pwede natin gamitin. Now, he was instrumental in professionalizing the management of the nation's public lands. no, and natural resources, applying scientific principles to forestry. So, diyan din natin ginaya din natin tong Amerika dito, no, and how to manage our forests. So, yung philosophy niya was encapsulated by his famous na philosophy ni G. Ford Pinchot, na palagi ding tinatanong sa board exams natin, no? Famous and oft-repeated maxim which serve as his guiding star. Ano yung philosophy niya? Anong famous na maxim niya? The greatest good for the greatest number for the longest time. So, nakuha din naman yan to sa mga European thinkers natin. Na yung greatest good for the greatest number, yung utilitarian na philosophy. But dito, pinaktis niya, no, sa profession niya as forester. So at that time, this was a radically forward-thinking and democratic idea, no, for its during that era, no, because he was arguing forcefully that public resources should not be squandered for short-term private profit, but must be managed wisely, scientifically, by experts to benefit the broad public, both in the present and for the countless generations to come, establishing a legacy of public stewardship. So in a sense, para din yung more recent concept ng intergenerational responsibility. Nakuha din yung idea from utilitarian conservationist. Yung present should have an obligation, no, to protect the interest of the future. So ano yung mga core tenets of yung philosophy ni Pinchot? No? Ito yung term na to, lumabas din to sa board exam, yung term na anthropocentric, human-centered na worldview. No, tayo as the most intelligent na animal, no, in this world, dapat everything is is for our consumption. So, yung philosophy niya, no, was unequivocally and unapologetically anthropocentric, meaning it was fundamentally human-centered, no, in its outlook and priorities. So according to Pinchot, yung nature's value was almost entirely instrumental. No, its worth was defined by its ability or utility for human benefit. No, lahat dito sa mundong to, no, under this philosophy, no, to serve sa atin, no, as human beings. Lahat, na including mga economic development, mga progress sa society, para sa atin yan. And with little consideration, no, for other forms of living things. So yung primary goal, yung managerial goal niya, no, was to maximize efficiency and the prevention of waste in all resources and use, seeing waste as a moral and economic failure. So dapat walang sobra, no, walang mga basura, dapat gamitin natin, no, for the benefit of human beings. So sa kanila sa US, no, he believed yung federal government nila should be guided by disinterested scientific experts like himself. He was the only the only entity with long-term perspective and authority capable of stewarding these finite resources for public good. So kailangan may science, no, may sistema. So sa modern natin na planning, lumalabas na rin to. No, yung eventually yung pag-create ng environmental impact statement, no, yung mga ganung type of modalities planning, dito to nagsimula, no, sa Amerika. So yung mga lahat, no, yung ang reason is to prevent yung mga destructive na mga exploitation by private, short-sighted na mga corporate interests, no, and ensuring democratic access to resources for all citizens, not just the wealthy elite. So, ano legacy ni Pinchot, no, for planning? Ito yung mga early na mga concepts. So, siya, no, lumabas din sa atin to, sa practice natin, no, dahil sa bansa natin eventually nag-professionalize na rin yung yung sector ng forestry. So during his time, he laid the foundation for professional resource management. So he provided the initial na yung mga ideas for the planning profession. So he is rightly considered the father of professional resource management in the United States. So, hindi pa yung tinatawag na environmental planning. Sa panahon niya, he was considered as the father of professional resource management in the United States. He established the U.S. Forest Service and was the primary architect of its foundational multiple-use mandate, which legally dictates that public forests should be managed for a balanced variety of uses, including timber production, livestock grazing, recreation, and watershed protection, often creating conflict. So dito sa atin ngayon, nagmamanifest na to sa mga forms of agreements that we can use yung mga forest natin under certain conditions laid down by the law under the supervision of DNR. So from a modern planning perspective, itong si Pinchot represents the technocratic, managerial, and economically oriented strand of our profession. So yun yung representation niya sa profession natin, emphasizing data, systems, and efficient allocation. He forces the planner to ask pragmatic, necessary questions. For instance, how can we ensure its long-term availability to serve evolving human needs and support economic vitality within a framework of wise use and scientific management? Iyan si Pinchot, yung kalaban naman niya na isa, si John Muir, the preservationist. He is a naturalist, writer, at saka spiritualist. The other corner of the debate, kalaban niya to, he's a writer, activist, and spiritual wanderer. He co-founded the Sierra Club. Kaya sa US, di ba, makita natin ang daming yung mga parks na yan, na dapat hindi galawin, that cannot be exploited. So one of those sa mga ideas ni John Muir as preservationist. While si Pinchot look at the forest and calculated board feet of timber, at saka sustainable yield, ito naman si Muir look at the same forest and saw a living cathedral. Na ito lumabas sa board exam to. Ang nakikita doon ni Muir sa forest, living cathedral, yung sagot yan. A sacred place filled with divine presence and inherent beauty. So he was the founder of the Sierra Club and a passionate poetic advocate for the intrinsic value of wilderness, believing that wild places were essential for human sanity and spirit. So John Muir famously and publicly railed against what he called the temple destroyers, the industrialists, politicians who would dam wild rivers or log ancient forests for purely economic gain, arguing that some places possess a value that made them simply too sacred to be developed or commodified. So meron tayong yung mga manifestations natin dito, So for example, sa Philippines, you have mga areas na mga protected areas na hindi pwedeng galawin, no? Theoretically. What are the tenets of yung philosophy ni John Muir? So he was fundamentally biocentric. So yung isa in contrast yung sa isa, no? Anthropocentric, ito naman biocentric or ecocentric. Meaning it was life-centered or ecosystem-centered in its ethical foundation. So again, no, si John Muir, he is biocentric. He believed that nature possessed inherent worth, no, meaning its value existed completely independent of any human use, economic calculation, or need. No, it had a right to exist for itself. So for him, wilderness was not a resource, no, but a vital sanctuary for the human spirit, no, a place for inspiration and spiritual renewal. So naturalist talaga to si John Muir, no? Away from the corrupting noise and haste of civilization, which he often criticized. So si John Muir was radically anti-utilitarian, no? In contrast doon sa kay Pinchot, no, na magkalaban sila dito. When it came to these sacred places, si John Muir argues that the highest public good was served by preserving wilderness for its aesthetic, recreational, and existential value, no, not by logging it for timber or damming it for water, establishing an ethical imperative for protection that transcended human utility. So sharpen na yung differences ng dalawang to, no? The two pillars ng environmental planning sa that started sa US, yung isa talaga is naturalist. Yung isa naman medyo he's using science, no? Yung mga managerial disciplines na what he's saying na pwede namang i-develop, no? Pwede namang i-develop using mga scientific means, no? Dapat may mga plano. So yung isa pro-development, no? Yung isa naman is for preservation. So anong legacy ni John Muir, no? Legacy for planning. So John Muir provides the spiritual and ethical foundation of the modern American conservation movement. So he's passionate, yung mga writings niya and tireless advocacy were directly responsible for the creation of ito. Lumabas to, no? Ano bang anong resulta sa advocacy ni John Muir? Yung creation of yung Yosemite National Park. No, and inspired the entire national park system idea. Maraming mga national parks sa Amerika, no, na for preservation talaga. Ito following yung philosophy o yung advocacy ni John Muir. He is the undisputed godfather of the modern wilderness movement, which culminated in the landmark Wilderness Act of 1964. No, imagine, yung advocacy niya, pinasa into law, no? Wilderness Act of 1964. Sa atin, no, for planners, si Muir represents the essential ethical, aesthetic, and advocacy-oriented strand of our profession, serving as its moral conscience. No? So worst comes to worst, if you want to be pro-nature, no, sa advocacy natin, then we follow yung yung idea ni John Muir. For example, if you want to be anti-mining, ayaw natin ng mga open pit mining, no, the best argument yung philosophy niya. Okay, so yung question always, no, being asked, no, he is asking the difficult question, mga uncomfortable question that challenge yung conventional development. So, yung question palagi, philosophical question, what is the intrinsic value of a place beyond its economic potential. Now, how do we protect a place from irreversible exploitation or short-term gain? What is lost, no? Ecologically, spiritually, and culturally when a place is gone forever, and what is our duty to prevent that loss? Okay, so itong mga away ba to ng dalawa, puro theory lang ba to? No? Puro ideas, no? Hindi. Hindi, no? So ito tandaan natin yung away nila graduated into yung it climax into yung Hetchy Valley. Ano to? It's a beautiful valley in Yosemite. So dito yung nag-culminate yung conflict ng dalawang ideas. Dahil that time, yung San Francisco needed a water supply. So, kailangan ng source ng tubig. Paano nila gawin yan? So there was a proposal to create a dam. So dito na nagsimula yung climax ng philosophical conflict between Pinchot at saka Muir. No, hindi na abstract debate. Naging concrete na yung away nila. It climaxed into a bitter, protracted, and deeply symbolic political battle over the fate of the Hetchy Valley. So, tandaan natin to, Hetchy Valley. So, this valley is a spectacularly glacially carved valley within the boundaries of the Yosemite National Park in California. So, itong Hetchy was renowned for its natural beauty. No? Ang ganda, no? Often described as a twin to the famous Yosemite Valley itself, with towering cliffs, no, and a meandering river. In the early 1900s, kailangan kasi ng San Francisco ng supply ng tubig. Saan siya makakuha ng reliable, no, na publicly owned water resource? So there was a proposal na itong river, no, yung Tuolumne River, mag-create ng dam diyan, no, to create a massive reservoir fitting the essential needs of an urban population. Tao, no? Ano bang mas importante? Yung yung nature o yung mga tao? No? Requirements ng mga residents ng San Francisco. Kailangan bang i-preserve yung isang national treasure? Or kailangan maglagay ng dam diyan para suportahan yung thousands, no, if not millions of Americans. So that created a defining moment of American environmentalism. Diyan naging concrete yung philosophical battle ng dalawa. No? So, paano na-resolve to? Sino kayo nanalo dito, class? No? Yung battle over Hetchy. On one side of the battle was Gifford Pinchot, a powerful government forester. No? Just like some of you here working with the forestry department, he supported the dam project. For him, no, ito si Pinchot, this was the perfect real world application of his utilitarian principle. No? Sabi ni Pinchot, panahon ko na to, no, para ma-apply yung mga principles niya, no, to provide clean, reliable water supply for a growing urban population. Represented, ito yung philosophy niya, the greatest good for the greatest number. Sabi niya, konti lang naman yung affected ng mga kan dyan, no, mga nakatira dyan, no? Mostly hindi man mga tao dyan. These are mga plants, mga animals, and siguro very few na mga native Indians, no? Compared with yung many na mga siguro sabihin natin dyan residents, no, basically mga whites, marami naman sila, no? So that, very rational, scientific at saka pragmatic choice for human welfare. On the other side, syempre si John Muir, no? John Muir, who mobilized his considerable influence and literary talents to fight the dam. Ayaw niya ng dam with every fiber of his being, portraying it as a profound desecration of a sacred wilderness space, no, as he called yung cathedral that would be deliberately flooded for mere utilitarian gain. Remember sa atin dito, class, sa Luzon, no? Remember, are you still there ba?
Yes, sir.
Sa Luzon, example dito si Mactuing Dulag, no? Sa Luzon ba 'yon, yung may na-create na dam? Na naging one of those na members of the ano bang kuan ni Mactuing Dulag? Is he an Ifugao or ano to? Sa history, sino bang mas kabisado niyan? But that is one example, no, na ipa-flood nila yung mga towns, no, or some areas for purposes of yung reservoir. So, ganun yung battle doon sa Amerika, no? Ito, first na battle between the two, yung proponents, early proponents of environmental planning. No, si Muir, hindi niya ma-take yun because yung place, he considered it sacred. That must be preserved. So, sino nanalo dito? No, sino nanalo dito sa battle na mag-build ng dam for San Francisco? So the battle was approved and built. Panalo si Pinchot. After years of intense national debate, no, sa Amerika and political maneuvering. So the forces of development and urban utility won. No? Common, maraming ganito, no? Parang palaging lamang yung lamang yung development. So, sa kay Pinchot, happy siya, no? Si Gifford Pinchot. This was the perfect real world application of his utilitarian principle. So, ano yung utilitarian principle niya? Providing a clean, reliable water supply for a growing urban population represented the greatest good for the greatest number. Okay? So these are mga philosophical na. Once you practice your profession, ito na yung mga pumapasok sa isip natin. Saan ba tayo? No, doon ba tayo sa nakakarami? No? Very rationalistic, scientific. So we can always justify everything by numbers. At saka hindi lang numbers because it's good, it's the best, no? It's for the best interest of the humankind. Pabayaan na naman natin yung mga other living things yan. Ang importante, tayo, mas nakakarami, no? At saka for human welfare. Of course, yung isa na kumakalaban hanggang ngayon, ganun pa yung philosophy also, yung si John Muir, no? Hindi pwede dapat, no? Because that is that is sacred, no? So eventually yung US Congress approved the dam and the Hetchy Valley was flooded, no? Flooded na, puno ng tubig hanggang ngayon supplying water to San Francisco. So yung utilitarianism ni Pinchot nanalo, no, won the decisive political battle, demonstrating the power of human need arguments. Okay? So ito yung mga philosophical underpinnings ng profession natin, no? Basta we invoke sa nakakarami, no? Pagkatapos para sa mga tao. No, most likely mananalo yan, especially if the decision makers will be yung mga politicians natin. Why? Because yung mga politicians naman natin, they're really for the number. No? Kung marami naman mag-benefit, why not? So that is the utilitarian argument. So however, kahit natalo to somewhere, yung preservationist na ideal niya, no, defeated, he was effectively martyred actually. no? Because the fight galvanized and united the conservation movement, creating a powerful political constituency that would lead to stronger legal protection for wilderness in the decades to follow. Remember yung Green Party, no? Decades back, parang fringe party yan sa Europe. No? Parang tingin ng iba, parang mga nasiraan ng ulo. But look at them now, no? Nasa mainstream na sila ng political movement. So parang ganito din nangyari kay John Muir, no? So sa atin, for environmental planners, Hetchy remains a canonical tragic case study of the quintessential dilemma. Hindi naman natin sabihin na mali din yon, no? Dilemma sa atin yon. Now, how do we balance critical, immediate human needs with the protection of irreplaceable environmental assets and symbolic landscapes for future generations?